Okay, I'm going to be rather brief. Look, at 11 o'clock this morning, I was upstairs, and we said there's certainly going to be more revelations that come out. Little did we know that an hour later, a thunderbolt struck. John Bolton sat in the room with Mr. Mulvaney, Cipollino, and they talked all about withholding aid and letting the Ukrainian president know. More and more evidence comes out. It will. No mistake about it. What happened today won't be the only or even the most significant and important leak that comes out, because that's just how it is. When you have so many, one of the most troubling things about this is what the president did was so wrong, and there were so many people in the loop, all of whom shrugged their shoulders and went along with something that was decidedly against the law. Maybe they said to themselves, well, that's who Donald Trump is, that's who we're working for. But when there are so many people in the loop, there are so many revelations from that loop as time goes on. And so, no, folks. And so, that it is devastating. As for, there is no agreement between Leader McConnell and myself. We have stood for one thing. We do not want this rushed through. We do not want it in the dark of night. Members have an obligation to tell the American people and to tell the people of their states why they are voting. So we are going to use whatever power we have to prevent it from being rushed through. But right now there is no agreement. I'm not going to take any questions. That's it.
But there could be an agreement soon? You got a side eye.
There was no question. I heard him ask something.
I said, could there be an agreement soon? And then he just like turned around like a son of a law.
We've been listening to the comments of Senator Schumer, and it is difficult to keep a straight face. It's such a stunning level of hypocrisy. You have to remember that during the last impeachment of Bill Clinton in 1998, 1999, there was a 100-0 vote against witnesses. Chuck Schumer was one of those votes. There was a great memorandum that was presented by none other than Joe Biden about how witnesses would not be necessary. In this case, the fact that they are decrying the lack of due process and the supposed unfairness is really just comical. Everyone knows, and every American can see how this whole process developed, how it came through the House, how Adam Schiff and his team engineered the entire process, the sham process we call it, because there's no better explanation. Secret hearings in the basement, the lack of the president's counsel being involved, having any opportunity of involvement for 71 out of the first 70 or 79 days of this whole proceeding. They didn't allow Republicans to ask questions. They didn't allow Republican witnesses. Look, this is all famously known now by all the American people. So the idea that they would be down here saying that this is illegitimate and somehow the president being acquitted today doesn't really count, that there'll be an asterisk next to this. The only asterisk in the history books will be about the sham single-party impeachment that this has been, and that the Founding Fathers clearly warned us against. They've opened a Pandora's box, as we keep saying, and we're very concerned about the future. I'll let my other colleagues speak here.
There were 17 witnesses. 17 of those witnesses were called by Adam Schiff. 0 witnesses were called by the President's counsel. Not only was the President unable to call any witnesses at all, his counsel wasn't even allowed in the room for those 17 witnesses. It's over. It's time to acquit the president.
I think what all of the senators in there agree is that regardless of what happened over here, House Democrats didn't do their job over there. On December 18th, we warned them. We stood on the floor of the House and said, there isn't enough evidence and testimony to impeach this president. But they were in a hurry to do that. And we told them, Senate Democrats aren't going to agree with you, and that's proven to be the case. 17 witnesses called over here could have been 117. The number of witnesses available to the House Democrats was the exact number that the House Democrats wanted to call over in the House. They didn't do that.
Yeah, I would just say the same thing. 17 to 0 is enough. Good news is the Senate is now not going to call any more witnesses. They don't want 18 to nothing. They don't want 19 to 0. They don't want 20 to 0. And we know that'd be the case. If another witness was called next week, then the Democrats would never stop. They'd want someone else because they want to keep going and go after this president. So Mr. Zeldin is exactly right. My colleagues are exactly right. It's time for this to end. It's time for the president to be acquitted, and we get moving with the American people's business. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Questions? No.
We read another thunderbolt today, and that is that a month after Biden announced his candidacy in May, there's a meeting with a lot of people in this meeting, including Bolton, Mulvaney, and very importantly, Cipollone, who is very busy spending hours making the argument that there is no evidence of any connection between the hold and the effort to get Ukraine to do an investigation. And if Bolton's allegations are correct, Cipollone basically is arguing something that he knows to be not true. If I were Cipollone as a lawyer, I would be very worried just about now. But this again points out why we need Bolton, why we need Mulvaney, why we need all these fact witnesses with first-hand knowledge to come and testify. And it is astounding to me that the Republicans don't see that. So now they're falling back apparently on this is all a partisan effort. There's nothing partisan about the facts. Facts are out there. And this is why we want the fact witnesses to come forward. So I think it's a pretty sad day that the Republicans don't want to hear from these witnesses.
Senator Rowe, now that Lamar Alexander and Ms. Murkowski declared their votes, are you still holding out hope that you could have witnesses or new evidence in this trial?
It doesn't look as though that the Republicans are going to see their way to face the facts and allow the people of America basically to get the information. However, we're going to hear from Bolton one way or the other. There were so many people in the loop that all of this kind of information, there are texts, there are emails, there are all kinds of communications. The facts are going to come out as to exactly what's going on. And basically, Lamar Alexander said, yeah, okay, the president did all this. So what? So they're either, and I have said for quite a while that they're probably going to say it's a so what defense, that he did all these things, but it's still not impeachable. And another our excuse seems to be that this is all a partisan effort. And as I said, look to the facts.
Senator,
Yes.
what is Senator Schumer telling Democrats about the process forward? And if McConnell moves ahead with like a resolution that he could pass with his own votes, will Democrats try to?
We'll certainly do our best to make sure that as much of the factual information and the arguments are placed before all of us and the American people. But at the same time, just as the Trump team has been arguing that it is up to the voters, as though impeachment is not a constitutional process. The voters are going to get to decide, and the information is going to keep coming out, and believe me, it will be an indictment on not only the president, in my view, but on also all of the Republicans and those who did not vote to have the factual evidence come up. I don't know. We shall see. That's why things change
Senator,
over
do you
time.
have a reaction to Murkowski's statement where she basically said she didn't see any way that there would be a fair trial? She said Congress has failed, and that she wants to vote no because she doesn't want to put Roberts in a position of casting a tie-breaking vote or getting attacked for not casting a vote.
Chief Justice Roberts is not the issue. The issue is whether or not there are going to be enough Republicans who say, we want the fact witnesses. In fact, Chief Justice Roberts could very well say, I don't want to get involved in, this is not my role to break a tie, so there shouldn't even be a tie. And if that's the sort of the I don't know what, angst that she's feeling, I should think that that's nothing that should be the reason she wants to vote no on the witnesses. Without witnesses, we can't have a fair trial, and we know that the American people have said you can't have a trial without witnesses. And it's not just any witnesses, it's the witnesses who are actually there, who can speak firsthand to what the president was scheming.
One of the things that she is saying, that Lamar Alexander and other Republicans are saying, is that basically no matter what witness were to come forward or evidence would come forward, it wouldn't change the outcome. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Maybe they're prejudging the impact of somebody who's sitting there under oath, being questioned. Maybe they don't want to face that reality or that experience. But the bottom line of what Lamar Alexander is saying is at least he's candid enough to say, okay, the president did those things and they were not appropriate. Please, that is about as benign a way to describe what the president did. What he did is impeachable. So, they're making their own rationale and arguments, but the fact of the matter is the American people want witnesses, we want documents, relevant witnesses and documents. You can't have that and not, you have to have that in order to get a fair trial. It's pretty simple, I think.
Senator, as far as Justice Bologna is concerned, you're saying that he should be worried. What exactly are you insinuating as far as
Well, if the allegations are true that he was actually at a meeting where he was very aware that the president was plotting this scheme to get the Ukrainian president to do his will, political will, and his whole entire argument has been there's no evidence to that effect, and he's one of the witnesses to this happening. There is such a thing as when lawyers lie to the tribunal, there are things that can happen to you.
Senator Hirono, would you like to see
There are disciplinary actions, but that's, what, I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm just saying if I were Pat Cipollone, I would be worried. But I'm still focused on the need to get witnesses.
Senator Schumer said if the president is acquitted, it will have a permanent asterisk on it. Do you agree? And is this now how are Democrats now focused on how Republicans who voted to acquit the president will be remembered by history and by voters?
There's agreement both sides, both the House managers and the Trump team, that this is going to have lasting impact, but the impacts are described very differently. In my view, the lasting impact will be that any president who doesn't want to comply with duly issued subpoenas can say, you know what, I'm just not going to comply with any of your subpoenas. I'm not going to have any of my people testify. You see, that does tremendous damage to the checks and balances. So I don't know how we expect any of our committees in any other matter to get information out of this administration. It is already not that easy to get information from this administration, by the way. For example, there's 6 children who have already died under our custody. Do you think that we're getting all the information as to what's going on with all these children in our custody? No. So with this kind of outcome, I think it's going to be even harder, and that's one of the lasting damages of a non-conviction, in my view. There are many.
State of the Union's on Tuesday night. What do you think's the State of the Union right now, given this impeachment trial, how divided the Senate is? And what are you thinking when you're going to be looking up at the president?
I will be attending the State of the Union to bear witness. That is what I did last year. By bearing witness, that means that I do not clap, I do not acknowledge, I'm just there as a witness. And I know that he's going to use that to make all kinds of arguments, because basically he's an unhinged, lawless person who lies every single day. So I expect him to use the State of the Union to lie about everything he's doing. But you know what? That's 2 days from now, or however. I'm still focused on what we need to do here, and I'm waiting for the votes on this, and people will be on record. That's for history. They will be on record not wanting to support witnesses who should come forward to enable us to make a decision on whether or not this president ought to be convicted for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Those will have lasting impacts on what Congress can do with our oversight responsibilities, and what the president is going to continue to do, because we do need to ask ourselves, what other pot of money is he going to find to use as a bribe to lean on or bully another country? What other country is he going to pick on? What kind of investigations is he going to unleash that may not have any foundation other than is something that he wants to get done politically? And that's what we've been told, that the president can do basically anything he wants under Article 2, and that is his belief, and his non-conviction will simply lend a lot of support to that belief. And we are seeing, as I said yesterday, we are witnessing the coronation of Trump as king, with Mitch McConnell holding the crown and the Republicans holding the train.
Do you think there is still a value in going through the impeachment process, even if you end up with this vindication, acquittal, crowning moment?
This is a responsibility we have, a constitutional responsibility to have this trial. And we're going to continue to advocate for the need for a fair trial, and that's what we need to do. We're not going to just truncate and shut ourselves down. You know, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that our voices continue to be heard, and that there's every possibility, down to the time of the various votes, that maybe some Republicans will see the light.
Is part of the strategy in drawing out this trial into next week to deny the president a victory lap at the State of the Union?
I don't think that that's really the impetus for it. There may be some other considerations, such as maybe people need to have a chance to express, their views on what's going on.
Senator, last question. If the president is acquitted, whether it's tonight or next week, would you then support a censure of the president?
I'm not there. To me, in my view, this is an up or down vote based on the evidence, and it is the Republicans who are saying that the president can get away with doing this, and if there's any effort on their part, such as if Lamar Alexander says, yes, the president did this, it was inappropriate, I think any censure motion, in my view, should come from the Republicans.
All right, thanks, everybody.